Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Blues Feed for a new episode with the same obsession, talking Chelsea Football Club. It feels a little bit lethargic today, I won't lie, after the weekend. But before we get into that and Danny and I break it down, I just want to remind everyone of our 1K subscriber giveaway. We're very close to the 500 mark now, so we're almost halfway there. And like we keep reminding you all, once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we will reveal who's going to win the Chelsea kit of their choice, and we will get it sorted out and sent out to you. But we must hit 1,000 subscribers first, so make sure you're liking, commenting, and subscribing on our videos. Talking of you lovely people, one of our latest videos had a really good comment from Magna Loca, who is a frequent commenter on our videos, and basically
probably our most commenter, to be fair.
Yeah, very, very much so. And what he said was, I knew we'd find a way, rely on the double act of Sanchez and Maresca. Looking forward to their reaction, as I can't comprehend one single thing that Maresca did. None of the subs made sense. Okay, someone has to be sacrificed for Sanchez, but why Esteval? That was a cop-out. And then Neto off for Tosin too. Everything is compounded when Palmer does go off, who is obviously carrying an injury, and he should have been the one sacrificed for Sanchez originally. In fact, why was he even starting? And I'll tell you what, I think might be the first comment that we've spoke about on this that I 150% agree with, because I don't know if I could have even worded that better myself. And that comment really epitomises the episode we're about to have. So, Magloka, thank you again for your comments and continued support, and thank you to everyone else who commented and is supporting us, because we really appreciate it. So, Danny, we're not going to dissect the comment as usual, because I think the whole podcast is going to be centered around that. Firstly, Danny's with me as always. Danny, how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. Apart from Chelsea being shit and Maresca being shit. Apart from that, I'm all good.
Perfect. I don't think you're just going to see a Danny rant today. I think you're going to see both of us at different points in this video, because Maresca really, well, he shit the bed, Danny, didn't he? He really.
Third game in a row.
I hate comparing us to Arsenal, but it was exactly how I imagine Arteta would have dealt with that situation. Stick a centre half on, defend the box, sit back, soak up the pressure. But Arsenal would have probably done it a bit better than what we did, to be honest with you. And I hate to say that. Right, let's dissect it bit by bit. So first shitter, Sanchez. And after the praise we gave him last week, the performance against Bayern Munich, and in recent months, to be honest, he's been a lot better. What the fuck was he doing?
No, but you said it on the last podcast, mate, that we're just it's loading, it's coming. He's not made a mistake yet. He's going to do something that's stupid, and I think we even joke saying that this is the time for him to do it, because it's Man United and we should beat them, and we never beat them. So it's time for him to be an idiot, basically, and give something away. And he did it. He just ran out and kicked him in the face. Well, not quite the face, but basically might as well have.
Yeah.
It's just, but it compounds, like with the Maresca idiotic decisions. I mean, I completely agree with what Magaloka said, that I don't understand anything Maresca did. I mean, you've played Tosin every week. You've said that he is your only one who can play centre back. You're then facing a 6'5", 6'6" striker, and your 6'5", 6'6" centre back is on the bench, which means that Trevor Chalobah obviously tries to challenge for the ball, but he's at like a 4-5 inch disadvantage already. Sesko knocks on the ball. Nobody covers the runner. God knows where Cucurella was at the time. God knows what Fofana was doing for covering. And then fuck knows what Sanchez was doing. But like, that could have easily been stopped just by having Tosin on the pitch, just purely for height.
Thing is, I think you've actually done Trev slight disservice, because he's actually 6'4". But the issue is Trev is not good in the air, and he barely.
Well, he seems 6 foot because he's shit in the air.
Exactly, and he barely even gets off the ground when he jumps. So, but you bang on. We needed somebody who was dominant in the air, because there was always that potential of Sesko threatening. the obvious issue lies that we haven't strengthened a centre back or goalkeeper in the summer, and we're not going to keep talking about it because we all know that, and it's gone now. What I do want to do is dissect each Maresca decision and try to see if we can find any logic behind it, because to me I can't, and I know you can't, but I think talking about it openly might get us to a point where we try to understand it. Not that I think we'll get there. So obviously the first decision is Neto Esteval off for Jorgensen. Obviously a sub had to be made. The reason behind Esteval I do sort of get. Obviously he's a little bit inexperienced, and 10 men behind the ball, he weren't going to get pockets of space where he'd be able to really flourish. And I can sort of understand it, but if Cole Palmer's fit, Cole Palmer wasn't fit. It was a tight call to start the game. So then surely, yes, he's our best player, but you just have to sacrifice him for one game. Because in the end, it's sort of a double pain, because A, we didn't sacrifice him to sort of protect him, but B, he's gone and got injured further, which obviously it's come out today. He's going to be out for sort of 4 to 6 weeks, which we'll come on to that a little bit later. Can you find any logic behind the Esteval substitution?
No. If Cole Palmer has failed a medical test to start the game, but you've kind of just listened to Palmer to say, oh no, he's going to try and blah, blah, blah. You've basically booked an early transfer, or worst case, injured Palmer longer. You're about to play 10 men behind the ball and basically only play transition football. So Palmer's going to have a lot of sprints, etc. 2, he's also not particularly fast, just like João Pedro isn't. He's not a slouch, João Pedro, but he's not absolutely rapid. But you've basically just then condemned Palmer to injury. So he should have been the first one. You can easily explain it at the end of the game, and even if you wanted to beforehand, you can get one of your brief journalists to put something out at half time and just say Palmer wasn't 100% fit, so they're making sure and protecting him. And then you've taken off Esteval, and then you also compound it by being an idiot and taking off Neto. And
that's
Maresca's...
that's what I wanted to get onto next, was the Neto one, because all of the other ones, actually not all of them, but especially the Esteval one, I've got sort of 1% in me that vaguely understands the thought process. The Neto one for me is one of the ones that makes absolutely zero sense whatsoever, because he's quick, he works hard, he can go both ways, he can be dangerous, he can take 2 or 3 players on and really drive a team up a pitch. Everything you need in a player when you are down a man.
Yep.
So then you take him off.
The thing that I don't understand as well is that he said that basically we defend, they attack in a 5. So when we went down to 10 men, we wanted to defend in a 5. Well, put Reece James right centre back, put Neto right wing back, and then see how it goes.
Exactly.
Let's not burn multiple subs. Let's not take our whole entire attacking threat off. Let's just do that. And you take Palmer off for Jorgensen and you play Neto at right wing back, basically, and let's see how the next 20 minutes go. Half an hour goes. Try get to half time in the game. Blah, blah, blah.
The thing is, we spoke last week after the Bayern Munich game about naivety and inexperience in the players. Maresca's just proved that in his management style.
He just shit himself.
That game there, it was like, oh shit, what do I do? How do we protect this? How do we not lose the game? Negative, disappointing, and inexperienced for me. It gets to half time. We're 1-0, we're 2-0 down at half time, but United have just had a red card. At that point for me, I'm thinking game is pretty much gone, but if we get the next goal, Old Trafford will shit itself. With the state they're in currently, if we get a goal, they'll fold. So I'm thinking half time, right, we've got 2 subs left because Santos is already on for Palmer. We've done the other 2 subs. I'm thinking, right, let's go for it. Hit them. Nothing. 15 minutes later, nothing. So finally, we go to make a sub, and it's Gusto for Cucurella. Honestly, I was bemused. I had no idea what or why or how. And then Tyreek George for Fofana. We tried to sell Tyreek George 3 weeks ago. If it weren't for it falling through in the last minute, he wouldn't have played. he wouldn't have been in the squad. He wouldn't have been at the club. How are you bringing him on over the likes of Guiu, Gittins, or Garnacho in terms of A, experience, because I think all of them are probably more experienced, B, what we needed, which was pace and the ability to get in behind. Like, George is okay footballer. He's not Chelsea level, and he's not particularly quick for a winger. He's more footwork than anything. So we needed to get in behind them. So we brought on probably the slowest of the four of the players that I just mentioned. The one that probably had resulted to he's not going to be at the club anymore, so he probably cares less than he did before. But then also, there is not one game this season that Garnacho would have been more up for than that.
Yep. Mate, it's just ridiculous. I mean, we're 2-0 down at half time. We finally get to 10 men each. And he just still didn't go for it. I would have happily lost 4-0 than versus what we did.
I
just not doing
if
anything.
we'd have just gone for it, I think we'd have ended up winning that game.
Potentially. Yeah.
Because I think if we'd have nicked that early goal, I think they'd have fallen apart. I really do. But we're sitting here on the face of a 2-1 defeat in the end. Some terrible.
And we never went for it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. We never ever went for it. Even in the last 15 minutes when we were put those subs on, you brought Gusto on that ultimately played left wing, basically, because he was so far pushed up. Just bring in Garnacho. If you want to bring George on, fine. If that's what you think is best, it's a stupid decision. It's not worked the 3 times he's tried to do it. He's been awful and wouldn't have been a Chelsea player 23 days ago if Fulham's sale didn't fall through. So that's ultimately wouldn't even been a Chelsea player. And you've then brought on Gusto instead. Just bring on Guiu and Garnacho, or if you want to bring George on, bring George and Garnacho on, whatever. But you can't bring Gusto on to play left back, which was basically left wing in the position he was playing. It's absolutely fucking mental. We never went for the game. Even at 2-1, we didn't go for the game.
Yeah, exactly. And
you finished the game with João Pedro and Tyreek George as your only attackers on the pitch.
Yeah. And the problem is, we're only going to know if Maresca's learned from it if that occasion happens again. Because until that happens again, there's no way of telling if he's going to have learned from it. Because at the end of the day, he is learning on the job in certain scenarios, and a part of me gets it, but I don't accept it. Like you're managing Chelsea Football Club, it's not the time to try something that you think might work. You need to be 100% confident in it, and if he's 100% confident in that, he's not the right man for the job. And we spoke about it at length. Look, he had a good first season. Obviously, we won the trophies, which was good. We're back in the Champions League. It was good. The long-term future under Maresca, we've questioned for quite a while. I just now am at a point where the inexperience is a little frustrating. And again, I think I could see a world where he does well for us again this season and we get Champions League again and we might have a little cup run. But I think we're always going to have these little blips and these little issues with him because ultimately, I think deep down we all know that he's not the man to return us to our former glory, if you like, or make us challenge at the top of the league consistently or sustainably. I just don't know if he's... Well, I don't think he is the right man, to be honest.
I don't think he is, and he's cost us in 3 games, in my opinion. The Brentford initial setup was absolutely abysmal, and he admitted that by doing 3 subs at half-time. You can lie to me and say that it was because Fofana was only going to play 45 minutes and Hato was still coming into the league and blah, 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 blah. But you decided you did a shit initial setup and you had to do 3 subs at half-time to fix it. You then just didn't know what to do or how to react against Bayern Munich. I mean, Bayern Munich's Bayern Munich, so losing to Bayern Munich isn't the end of the world. I kind of understand a defeat there. But at 2-1, you could see him. He was just talking to his staff for 15 minutes about what to do, didn't do it, and then we conceded again and it was game over. And then against Man United, you shit the bed as soon as the red card happened. You then didn't react, and you never put us in a position to win the game. So that's 3 games in a row that, yes, the players weren't good enough in multiple games and multiple situations as well. But he also shit the bed and didn't put us in a good position 3 times in a row. So there's big questions about Maresca. And to kind of add to my point, I put it out on Twitter last week because we had the positive crew out in full force after we lost to try and justify Maresca. And they're saying, oh, we won 22 games out of 30 and blah, blah, blah. Our last 30 Premier League games, 15 wins, 7 draws, 8 losses, which if you then average that out for the whole entire season, puts us on like 65 points, which is fourth, like sixth, fifth. So here it is. 7th, that would be enough for 7th last year, 6th for the year before, 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 and then 5th in 2019. And that's based off the last 30 Premier League games. So if we finish 6th or 5th, 6th or 7th, like 7th to 5th, that's a failure of a season, in my opinion. We needed this season to be a consolidated top 4 team that by kind of March time there's no question really, unless we lose like every game, that we're going to get top 4. That just had to be the minimum expectation for this season after last year, and my confidence is dwindling because we've not seen anything so far that even resembles the Club World Cup performances. And to be fair, the more you look back at that Club World Cup, yes, obviously I didn't expect us to win it. And yes, we were absolutely fantastic and we schooled PSG. But if you look at the other fixtures that we played in that Club World Cup campaign, if we played any of them in the league or the Champions League, you'd back us to win 3-0, 3-0 in them. We literally played Fluminense, Palmeiras, Benfica, Tunis, Flamengo, and LAFC. You'd back us to be we're going to be like odds-on favourites every single time we play all those, apart from the PSG game, which is fine. We did really good, but that's a one-off game. So people were talking about how fantastic we were at the Club World Cup and we finished really strong and blah, blah, blah. We did absolutely. I can't take that away from us. There's other context to some of the wins, like Liverpool being drunk when we beat them and stuff like that. But I'm starting to get really, really concerned that the trophies have absolutely warped everybody's perception on what's going on and how we've been playing.
Yeah, I definitely think it's plastered over cracks. And the thing is, you can do any vein of fixtures in any which method you like to make it suit your argument. Like you're saying there, you can do the last 30 Premier League games where it doesn't look so rosy. Some people are doing like the last 20-something games in all competitions where it looks really nice.
Yeah, cool. What you mean when you're talking about the Club World Cup, the back end of the Conference League, and then when we did quite a good run at the Premier League, you're deliberately choosing the last 20 games when we are. If you go back further, and further is a bigger sample size and a bigger kind of point of data that you have to look at. You can't just do, you go, okay, cool, well, we're shit. We should sack him because of the first 6 games of the season we've been terrible. Like, you can manipulate data, but you have to take it over a longer period of time.
The thing for me is, why are we looking at a specific amount of games? Let's just look at his reign. We don't need to look at a specific amount of games. The reason people want to look at specific amounts of games, A, to suit an argument, etc., which is fair, but B, is because they don't want to talk about the full conversation. Yeah. Like, let's just talk about his reign in total. Started well, got really bad, got a bit better, bit inconsistent, won a couple of trophies. Conference League, yes, obviously we won it, but we had to win it. That would have been an immediate failure if we didn't win that. Club World Cup, like you said, there were some good performances. The Fluminense game, good. The PSG game, incredible. But why have we not carried that into the season? That should have been, right, foundations have been laid in that entire first season. We include the Club World Cup in the first season. Foundations are laid. Now let's kick on. And I feel like we're back in sort of March time, really, where it was like, oh, we've got a bit better and we're not pissing about with the ball on the halfway line as much, but we're still inconsistent. Saturday is a bit of an anomaly, let's be fair. Like, it doesn't happen often that you're down to 10 men, your goalkeeper sent off after 3 minutes. The things after that, though, is it's your tactics, it's your substitutions, work that out. I Part of me thinks Maresca is self-sabotaging. We know for a fact that he wasn't happy towards the end of last season. He actually considered walking out and leaving at one point. He had offers to leave in the summer. He decided to stay, which fair play to him. But now, like, I think there's an element of self-sabotage there. I think some of his
There's
comments.
definitely something in that for sure, because he asked for a centre back in the summer. Got told basically to use George after they couldn't get Huijsen. He then brought it up again since the season started and basically said in January, I want a centre back. And pretty much the club's response was, we'll look at it, but you need to trust Josh more. And then Josh was left out the squad.
Yeah, and Josh has played. He played the first game of the season, played well, and he's not been used since. I mean, I expect him to play tonight.
And then you look at his comments last night that come out in the what's it called? The section afterwards. The name eludes me, but
The
section
embargo.
after the embargo tweets and stuff like that. And he's talking about his only centre back options are Trev and Tosin.
I think that was taken
Fafana.
slightly out of context, to be honest, because I saw the clip of that, and what it was something to do with like today's game, and he was basically saying that he's not in a position where he can rest both Trev and Tosin, because obviously I think that's the way I interpreted it was that Josh is a guaranteed starter. Fafana can't play again because he played Saturday, so one of Tosin or Trev have got to play. That's the way I interpreted what he said. So I think it was taken slightly out of context in the media, like him not mentioning Josh at all. But
well, you got Josh, you got Hato, like you got
Hato
multiple options there. Yeah,
left
potentially for sure. But like obviously, it just all of the comments at the moment are just. I said to the people I was watching the game with at the weekend, it seemed like a beginning of the end game. Like it felt like if you go back to like an Abramovich kind of reign, it seemed like a performance that was the start of a sacking, and I felt like that. And then his comments after, and then his comments about Liverpool, basically saying we're never going to be able to catch them if they're carrying on the way they're going. They showed real ambition in the summer. Just all sounds like sly digs at everybody upstairs after we already know he wasn't happy with the window. Even some of the people who are the biggest Maresca fanboys can have admitted that obviously the window wasn't what he wanted and he asked for more and stuff like that. And if that is the situation, which I understand it is, that he's very unhappy and stuff like that, and he's like showing the board like he's not playing £90 million worth of left wingers, he's playing George instead, he's not using Josh, etc., and he's starting to play this political game of I'm going to show you that you did the wrong decisions. It's going to end one way.
Yeah,
if
100%.
The performances don't continue. I mean, I could be completely overdoing it. We beat Lincoln 6-0. We go and beat Brighton 2-1, and we draw to Liverpool, and we come into the international break, and everybody's emotions have calmed down. Maresca's probably not feeling as bad about the summer window because it's not going as bad, and players feel better and we're in a bit of better form. So obviously this could age terribly. But if it goes badly and we don't beat Brighton and we lose to Liverpool and we struggle against Lincoln, you come into the international break with a real bad kind of feel about the club going into a festive period where you'll play every 3 days, pretty much from the minute you come back from the international break until the new year.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting little period of time. I think the Lincoln game tonight is a non-negotiable. Like, I don't think that's even included in it, to be honest. And if we lose that, then this talk's only going to get heightened. I think that it's like Amorim. If United won against Grimsby, it wouldn't have been spoken about. Because they lost, it was heightened. It'll be the same tonight. If we win, like, there'll be no conversations had. Nobody will change their thoughts. We're not suddenly going to blow Lincoln away and everyone's going to go, wow, God, we're so good. Like, but if we lose it, or we draw, or we play badly, that's when these talks get heightened. Whether I think our board will pull the trigger at any point, I actually don't think they will. But like you say, it does
Depends
feel
how
like,
toxic it gets. That was kind of my point. If
yeah,
it is becoming political and he's doing this and he's doing that, and then the performances go, and then the pressure starts coming down a little bit. Of like, you imagine Winstanley and Stewart sitting there, and they go, we need better performances. We're getting away from our kind of targets and stuff like that. His response was, well, I asked for a goalkeeper and I asked for a centre back. You didn't get me either. I asked
yeah,
for another striker. You
the
didn't
power
get me that. You
struggle
brought
will.
me a Giyu, blah blah blah, and then it just becomes a bit toxic. It becomes a bit aggy, etc. Whatever you want to call it, and then it can spiral from there. And everybody's gonna, as always within football, as you can see with like Monchi leaving Aston Villa today, people look for someone to blame that isn't themselves, and the manager is usually the one that goes.
Yeah, for sure. Look, it's going to be an interesting little bit of time.
And the reason I am saying that it is a bit like, and I'm talking about it as a little bit more negative than it actually is now, because it's not as bad as things as like we're kind of making out. It's the potential of how it will go if the fixtures in the next few weeks don't go well.
Yeah, we've got
That's my concern.
We've got a relatively mixed bag of sort of the next period of fixtures. So obviously we play Lincoln this evening. We then got Brighton at home on Saturday, and then it's Benfica and the return of Jose next week. Liverpool away before the international. Liverpool at home before the international break, and then Forest, Ajax, and Sunderland straight after.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be a defining period probably in our season and maybe in the regime of Maresca. Like you say, we might be overstating it slightly or being a little bit dramatic, but you can certainly see if a couple of these fixtures go wrong. Like if we were to get a bad result tonight, not play well against Brighton, and then lose to Benfica being 0-2 in the Champions League, you can see it slowly unfolding. But
absolutely.
maybe that's just our experience of sort of the Abramovich era that's making us feel like that. Maybe I know,
but it's also the experience of what we had last year, where we started really well, it dipped, and it took fucking ages for us to turn it around.
I'm just
So if
talking
we're
more from an
already
ownership
starting bad.
standpoint. I think from an ownership standpoint, I know for a fact that they want to be less trigger happy and they want to give time and allow that. They want that more sustainable approach. But it's Chelsea.
All comes to how toxic it becomes.
Exactly that.
Comes out how toxic it's going to become and how bad we're performing in the Champions League and also the Premier League. That's going to be the two things. And if comes Christmas time, around that kind of time, we've had a bad period, it's getting a bit toxic and we're behind on where we're going. These guys are billionaires and they want to succeed. They've given him 18 months. It's not the first 6 months of his tenure. It's in 18 months of his tenure. That's when they might be a little bit, they don't want to be trigger happy early is the biggest thing.
Yeah. Well, in a weird way, I've actually quite enjoyed this episode today. It's been
Felt a bit like a therapy session.
Yeah, it has, and it's been nice to unload. But we'll wrap it there, and we'll be back with a preview of the Brighton game later this week, and then we will catch you all later the week. Let's hope we win tonight, and thank you all.